Hey, on today's episode, we're going to talk about how you can back up your Mac or Windows machine to Amazon AWS S3. So with that, let's get started. Hey, so I get asked all the time how I can back up my Mac or PC to the cloud. And this is really, really important. The number one thing you want to do is get your computer backed up to a cloud. It's a great protection against ransomwares. If you're plugging in USB drives to back up your files, and if you get hit with a ransomware, it's likely to also encrypt your backup files, and then you've got no restore point. But if you back up your files to a cloud, it's much harder for them to hit that cloud and your computer at the same time, and then you're going to get your files back. That's one of many reasons why you need to back up. So today we're going to cover how to set up an AWS S3 Bucket, how to install the program either on your Mac or your PC, and actually back up your files to Amazon's AWS S3. This will give you full control over the schedule, compression, encryption methods, privacy settings that you're going to want, and that way you have both control over the backup source and destination, the repository. So you'll be able to keep track of how long you want those backups for, and again, the encryption methods. So with that, let's go to the computer and get started. Okay, so I have a Windows machine here, and we're going to actually get it backing up to an Amazon AWS S3 Bucket. So the first thing we're going to do is actually create the Amazon Bucket and then download the program and install it. So I'm just going to Google, let's see here. I'm just going to log into the Amazon interface. Perfect, and I'm going to pull up my S3 buckets. I don't have any S3 buckets in this account right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and create one. This needs to be a unique name. If you want more information about how to secure this, I have a couple videos on that. I'll include those in the description below, but I'm just going to kind of breeze through some of these settings now and just set it up the way I think you'd want to set it up. So the DNS name, it needs to be a unique name that no one else on the internet has used. So for this, I'm going to call it Tristan Demo Backup. Let's see if anyone's used that. Looks good. We're going to do keep all versions of an object. You're going to want versioning because basically what this does is every single time a file is backed up to the system, you're going to have a version of that file. So let's say I had a text document and I wrote it to the bucket, and then I changed that text document and I wrote it again. You're actually going to see the difference in time of those files. So it's kind of, in this particular example, it's kind of a backup of a backup. And personally, I recommend leaving it on, and we're going to show you how to clean that up later. So we're going to turn on versioning. We're going to turn on server-side encryption. All server-side encryption does is it just makes sure that it's encrypted when it goes to Amazon's hard drives. So if a hard drive ever left their data center or something like that, any files that were on that hard drive would be encrypted. So you're going to want to turn that on and go ahead and hit next. We're going to block all public access. You're definitely going to want to turn that on. If you want more information about that, see my other video. And let's go ahead and create the bucket. Perfect. Okay, so now let's go ahead and download the program. I used Cloudberry's backup program. It's just one that I've used before. They're not sponsoring me or anything like that. It's just I've had a lot of good experience with them. I've used a few others, but this one's definitely the easiest to just kind of get up and running. So at least in my experience. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a standalone backup, and then you can just go ahead and select what operating system you're doing. So we have a Windows VM here, so we're going to go ahead and download a free trial. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and download this file and install it. So, okay, so now we have it installed, so you can go ahead and choose your version. For this, I'm just going to choose Home Edition Free. That will work for most individuals depending on how much data you have to actually back up. You can also do a 15 trial free and then buy a commercial license. Just to kind of quickly show you the pricing for these products. They're not super expensive by any means, but if we go ahead and learn more, you'll see what the differences of these items are. So here's your Windows free version. So you obviously can't be like tied to a domain or can't be a Windows server or anything like that. And you'll be able to back up about 200 gigs. So that should work for most home users. I actually had to upgrade mine to a Windows Pro just because I have a lot more photos and videos and stuff that I wanted backed up. So I just did Windows Pro, and you can see you can buy that for $49.99. So it's not super expensive, $50, and you'll be able to go ahead and get the full license suite for everything you'd basically want to do on your Mac or PC. Okay, so with that being done, we've got ahead and hit the Home Edition just for today's demo. Okay, so now that we have it installed, let's actually go ahead and create a backup plan. So for this, we're going to do a files-based backup because we are using the free edition. And then we're going to go ahead and either do a local backup or a cloud backup. Again, I want to actually back up all the way to the cloud. So it says there's no storage accounts available, so you can go ahead and add one. These are all different kinds of storage accounts they support. For today, we're going to do Amazon S3. So click that, and then we're going to just call it Tristan demo account. And it wants an access key and a secret key. So we'll go ahead and create those. So if we go back to our Amazon account and go to my security credentials, we're going to create a user that can actually use the system. I'm going to just create a demo user, but we're going to create programmatic access, but I'm going to talk about just attaching different policies. So here I'm just going to do S3 full access. So this would actually give this credential, this user, full access to all the S3 buckets. I have another video that I'll put in the description below that actually shows you how you can lock this down a little bit more. I highly recommend trying to lock this down as much as possible so that if your security credentials ever get compromised, you limit the attack footprint that they can get into. Also, at an absolute minimum, I highly recommend doing at least Amazon's S3 full access. So that way, if these credentials get compromised, they're not going ahead and spinning up EC2 compute power or anything like that on your credit card. Just do at least S3 full access, but preferably do something tighter. So go ahead and create these credentials. We have an access key and a secret key, so we're going to paste that into this application. You don't ever need these to save them anywhere, because if ever you lose them, you can just go back into your Amazon account and recreate new ones. So let's say your computer blew up, or you bought a new computer or anything like that, and you need to reset up your backups or restore from a backup, you can just go into your Amazon account and recreate these credentials. So not saving them anywhere also helps make sure that they don't get leaked as much. So go ahead and submit those. And now if we select the bucket, this is the bucket I created earlier, Tristan's demo bucket. So go ahead and hit OK. And now we're going to use that. So now we're going to create a backup plan, and we're going to hit next, and we're going to use advanced mode. And this will give us a lot more features that we're going to want to do when we do our own backup. And these are some of the benefits of doing your own cloud backup. So you can back up your NTFS permissions and a whole bunch of other different items. For today, we're just going to do a lot of the basics, but you can play with these settings later. I'm going to just back up, say, my user folder. And we're going to back up my documents. Hit next. And we can say backup all the files. You can create exceptions. You can say backup files that were modified X amount of time. Yeah, there's loads and loads and loads of different options in here that you can play with to customize however you want. Storage class, this chooses what storage class you want to put it in. If you're not really sure about this, I have another video about AWS storage classes. Basically, at a high level, standard is if you're expecting to be able to pull your data out often, you can go to standard, but it's going to cost you the most to store it there. You can do intelligent tiering, but if you're doing it for backups, the likelihood is it's going to move a lot of it to infrequent access, and you're not going to see the benefits entirely of infrequent access, which is the cost savings. And then if you go to standard infrequent access or Glacier, those will save you a little bit more money to store. But if you do need your files out of there, then you need to pay for it. If you really don't know what to do, the safest one I'd probably recommend is intelligent tiering, because intelligent tiering will store it in standard, which will cost a little bit more money, and they will make the decision to move it to infrequent access on their own. And so Amazon will do that for you and save you a little bit of money that way. But if they made a mistake, or if you have to do a retrieval, you're not going to get penalized for that. So if you're really, really not sure, you could do intelligent tiering, but if you know the storage class as well, you can go ahead and pick different storage classes. These are your different retention policies, so you can go ahead and choose how often you want to keep it. So you can say, I want to keep 3 versions, or when files get deleted, how long do you want it to be kept on the bucket, things like that. Keep in mind we have versioning on in the bucket, so I'm going to show you how to play with that a little bit as well. I'm just going to leave those as defaults. Here's a good example. So you can say files have been deleted locally, delete after 30 days on the backup system. That will keep your buckets smaller. There's pros and cons to that, but again, if you have versioning on, like we have on, you're going to want to put in a lifecycle manager to clean that up as well. So hit next, and then you can run any schedule you want. So you can do real time, you can do it 3 o'clock in the morning every day, whatever kind of schedule makes sense for you. Right now I'm just going to do it run manually, And if you want to receive emails when this is set up, you can do that. I'm just going to turn that off. Boom, and that's it. Perfect. I have a job now to do my backups. So I can go ahead and hit run, and that will actually go ahead and start backing up all of my documents into that bucket. So if I go look back now at that bucket, let's see what's here. So we can see the desktop name. Here's the C drive, users, my username, my documents, and here are all the files in here. And actually these are from a demo that I had done earlier about infrequent access and standard file access. So here's the date, and then boom, there's the file that I actually backed up. So it's all in the same architecture that was on your local machine, and it's all backed up now. And you can see the storage class is intelligent tiering. So let's go ahead and clean up the versioning. So if we click on the backup, we go to management, we click the lifecycle rule. So probably the only thing I would recommend here in your lifecycle management is to expire old versions. So we'd say anything that's a previous version that's about 365 days old or however long you want to keep it, then you can go ahead and delete them. You want to clean up delete markers, you want to clean up incomplete or multi-part uploads, which is just a cleanup. So this will, so even if someone got a hold of your computer and got a hold of Cloudberry and told Cloudberry to go ahead and delete everything from your backups, they still would not actually purge from your bucket for 365 days. You don't have to do this. It's a bit of a fail-safe. Like I said, it's kind of a backup on a backup. So it's really up to you whether or not you want this. If you don't want lifecycle management, or if you don't want versioning, you can just go ahead and turn that off, and then everything is managed by the Cloudberry tool. If you want a little bit of assurance, you could do versioning and dig more into that. And I have another video that talks about versioning a little bit and how it applies to other applications, like if you're using S3 as a network drive. In this case, like I said, it's just a backup of a backup. So hopefully that helps. The instructions for a Mac are very similar to the PC VM that I have here. And like I said, I'm not endorsed by Cloudberry, but it's a really great tool for being able to have full control over your backups and the repository. Hey guys, hopefully you found that helpful. I really can't stress enough creating some kind of cloud backup. I really like this option because you have full control over, again, the source and the destination. The encryption methods, the length of time you want the files backed up, all of that stuff. I'm going to also link a couple of videos below about how you can lock down your S3 bucket further with an IAM policy, and how you can actually mount an S3 bucket to your local machine. So we did this in a demo and actually got 128 terabytes of cloud storage right on our local computers that we can just get live cloud data. So those videos are in the link below. Be sure to subscribe. We do a new video every Friday afternoon, and do a thumbs up if this video was helpful and if you guys are actually using this product for your cloud backups. Thanks guys, have a great day.